My name is Kelli Kennon-Lane. I am professionally, I am the Vice President on the Board of Directors for New Pioneer Food Co-op. I also work as Director of Education at the Indian Creek Nature Center. So my volunteer assignment for New Pie and my work assignment at Indian Creek are very aligned in a way. Both organizations have really incredible missions related to sustainability, and low waste is a piece of that sustainability pie, so to speak. So I am a low waste living enthusiast, but I'm also, this is what I do professionally for my work. So I'm happy to support the co-op in this initiative as well. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started. So give me just a moment. Okay. Can you see my screen, everyone? Maybe Megan, I can see you. Can you give me a thumbs up? Perfect. Okay. So I'll try to keep an eye on the waiting room. And if we have any folks who join later, I'll try to admit them here. But I want to start off with this class like I do any even informal conversation that I have with people about low waste living. And the first thing is, there is no such thing as zero waste. The term gets tossed around a lot, but it actually doesn't exist. There is absolutely no way for an individual or a corporation to live entirely carbon neutral, to live entirely zero waste. Our society is simply not set up for that type of lifestyle. But beyond that, unless we were truly living in a forest and not consuming anything other than what we find on the land, there is no way to be zero waste. And even so, we are having an impact or a footprint on the earth, even if we're living on the land. I tell you that because it should bring you a bit of reassurance. Being low waste or zero waste is sometimes a daunting undertaking. So by knowing that zero waste shouldn't be the goal because it's impossible, and that low waste is actually more attainable, hopefully it gives you a bit of reassurance and doesn't overwhelm you as much. This evening, we're going to talk about big pictures, big concepts, but we're also going to talk practical tips, everyday tips, how the co-op and other local organizations can support you on your low waste journey, things you can start doing tomorrow. Wherever you are at on that spectrum is fine. The important thing is you're here and you're ready to learn, and this is a topic that is important to you. So thank you for being here. We are so grateful to start this conversation with you. So like I said earlier, I'm a low waste living enthusiast, and these are two organizations, the Nature Center and the Co-op, that I am extremely passionate about. I tell you this because there are some incredible organizations, profit, nonprofit, large corporations, small mom and pop shops that are doing really great things when it comes to low waste living. These are two of dozens in Lynn County and Johnson County alone. So if there are businesses throughout this presentation that maybe connect with a topic that I present or talk about, type their business in the chat box, shout them out. We want to support local organizations in Lynn and Johnson County and surrounding counties that get on the low waste bandwagon, so to speak, and give them our business, especially in times like this. So one thing that I want to share with you is a bit of a personal story. You are all here for a reason, and some of you have typed that into the chat box and told us why you're here. The reason low waste is important to me, the reason I'm here, is because one summer I was a high school language arts teacher for about 6 years before I was an administrator in public schools, before I came to the Nature Center. And when I was a language arts teacher, I was constantly reading books that I was previewing for my students. So I was reading a lot of young adult lit. And one summer I was like, I am not going to read another young adult novel. I'm going to read something for me. This is my summer break. So I picked up this book that was for $1 or $2 at the Marion Public Library's book sale. And it was Animal Vegetable Miracle by Barbara Kingsolver. And this topic, this book was the Kingsolver family, their journey to eat within 100 miles of their home in the Appalachian Mountains. So for 1 year, they committed to eating food, animal products, or goods that were raised, produced, grown, manufactured within 100 miles of their home. In January and February, it was really hard. In March, April, May, it was getting easier. And then by summer, they were just eating like kings and queens, and it was incredible. And that book opened my eyes personally to how many food miles, how many fossil fuel miles were in my food. The average dinner plate, so whatever you had for supper tonight, the average American, their dinner plate has 1,500 miles of fossil fuels on it. 1,500 miles of fossil fuels in the food that they're eating for one meal. That blew my mind, and that started me on a low waste journey. So we want to hear why you are here. I think that's important. So if there's something that you want to share about why you're here tonight, whether it's like Wendy, your 12-year-old granddaughter who's really interested and you're here supporting your granddaughter because that's her passion, type that into the chat box because that's really important for us to get some of that motivation. So the first thing that I want to bring up for more of a discussion is how the pandemic is hindering your low waste efforts. So if you feel comfortable unmuting yourself, feel free to unmute yourself. Or if you would like to type in the chat box, we'd like to learn a little bit about how the pandemic is especially making it challenging for you to live low waste. Marta, so many plastic bags, plastic waste, yes. Let's just, I mean, this is sometimes the hardest time of year, or the hardest year for us to try to live low waste. Single use everything, Anne says. Tara says bulk bins are largely inaccessible. Ooh, Tara, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. You're right. Katie seconds Marta, so many plastic bags and not being able to use your own. I agree. Joan, a lot of plastic going out of the grocery store. No reusable cups, Terry says. Bringing your own cup to coffee shops is also really hard. Krista has a child who's very concerned about a low impact lifestyle. Vegan, intensely ethical. That's another element to this conversation is the ethics of low waste beyond climate change. He might be one to live in the woods and forage. Christy, I think I need to meet your son and or daughter, I guess one of your children's son, because he might be a cool kid to have at the nature center. Oh, to-go food at restaurants. Yeah, when you support that awesome restaurant, but they have a lot of plastic at the restaurant, absolutely. So all of your concerns with low waste living in the pandemic are absolutely valid. We're gonna hopefully address most of them this evening, especially the ones related to plastic. So let's get into some of that right now. We do not need, as a society, and this is not my own quote, this is something that there's been many iterations of it floating around on the interwebs. The philosophy is we don't need 10% of people living 100% zero waste. We actually need 100% of people reducing their personal impacts by 10%. That includes individual impacts, household impacts, and business and corporate impacts, including the commercial and industrial industries. So that should also be reassuring to you, is you do not have to live entirely zero waste. It is a small piece that all of us can break off by just changing some of our initial habits and making very small changes, working up to larger changes to actually start creating substantial change. Let's get into the big details here. The first thing that's important is we need to have a baseline of some important terminology. The first is greenwashing, and it's something that we need to be wary of. Greenwashing is a play on the word brainwashing, but it's essentially disguising a product, a service, or an industry as eco-friendly or green when it is actually just capitalizing on the green or eco movement, and the practices or the goods or the service aren't actually eco-friendly at all. A common example that we see on a carton of eggs, for example. If you've tried to purchase a carton of eggs, you'll see terms like vegetarian or grass-fed or cage-free or omega-3 enriched or free range. I mean, there are dozens of different varieties of eggs that you can purchase. Without actually knowing the exact practices in which those chickens were raised and those eggs were gathered and processed, we have no real way to assure that they are meeting our standards for eco-friendliness or humane treatment and so on. So a lot of times businesses or products are labeled natural, but what does natural even mean? It's very important to begin the habit of reading labels carefully. And if the label does not give you the information to really reassure you about their brand standards or their packaging, then it's probably not a product you should purchase, or it's a product you need to research more on. A great starting point is the Environmental Working Group, ewg.org. That is a great starting point if you want to research a body care product or a product that has like a barcode, essentially, because you can download the EWG Environmental Working Group app on your phone, and you can even scan the barcodes, and it will pop up and tell you a lot of information that you need to know about the quality of that product, and even a little bit about their business philosophies as well. Some additional terms that we need to understand right off the get-go are what the terms biodegradable, degradable, and compostable mean. There are a lot of single-use items out on the market today. They fall into these three categories, and I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. None of these categories are great. Some are better than others, and let's talk about them now. So if a product is degradable, it essentially means it's trash. So degradable means that that product is oil-based, petroleum-based, and it will break down into microplastics, teeny tiny little plastics that pollute our waterways and streams and harm our animals and are just generally terrible for the environment. So degradable is petroleum-based, breaks down into microplastics. Biodegradable means that it is manufactured with some earthy element. Could be corn, could be soy, could be paper, so some earthy element, and it can be broken down by organisms like bacteria or fungi. However, it has to be handled by commercial operations in order to be broken down. You can't oftentimes put a lot of biodegradable products into your home compost bin, for example, because our home compost bins don't get hot enough, or the item needs to be shredded to get into a smaller surface area before fungi and bacteria can break it down. So biodegradable is better than degradable because it's not trash. It doesn't break down into microplastics. It will eventually return to the earth. It's not going to provide a lot of nutrient value to the earth, but it can break down, oftentimes in a commercial operation. So if you get a single-use cup from your coffee shop and it has a biodegradable marker on it, that's okay, that's good. But oftentimes you won't be able to compost that in your home compost bin. It needs to be broken down at a commercial compost facility, and that's sometimes hard to find. Compostable is the best of those three options. So if an item is compostable, and this is oftentimes like food matter, it breaks down quickly into nutrient-rich elements and provides health benefits to the soil. So your apple core, your banana peel, the moldy heel of the bread loaf, that is going to break down in your home compost bin. Oftentimes, if you just bury it under a couple inches of soil at the very least, and it will provide health benefits to the soil. So that's the best option. Oftentimes, it's hard to find out what the product is based on the label alone, if it's biodegradable, degradable, compostable. You're going to see the term recycling on everything. You're going to see that little triangle with arrows on almost every package you pull out of your kitchen cabinet right now. I took a tour recently with Jason Evans, who's the Director of Education at the Linn County Solid Waste Agency. If you or your family or a social group, your quarantine, want to take a tour of the Linn County Solid Waste Agency on County Home Road, I highly recommend it. 1 hour with Jason will take the topics that we present tonight and accelerate them, put pedal to the metal on what you have learned. That recycling symbol that is on all of our packages does not tell us, it kind of tells us how the item can be recycled if you actually pay attention to the number that's inside, but it tells us mostly what the product is made out of, not if that product can actually be recycled. If you look at the styrofoam clamshell that your takeout food comes in, it has a recycling symbol on it, but styrofoam is not recyclable. Styrofoam is degradable, it is trash, and it will break down into microplastics. So that recycling symbol is so misleading. In addition, recycling is a myth. It doesn't really exist much anymore. And the reason is recycling, like a lot of other industries, is a commodity industry. A couple of years ago, we had sold almost all of our recyclables to China for recycling and processing there. We essentially were selling them the stuff we didn't want, because the recycling industry is a very hard industry to maintain in the States because it's very expensive. And then a couple years ago, China decided, we don't want your recycling anymore. We're not taking it. Deal with it yourself. So as Americans, we are stuck, because there are very few recycling agencies that truly recycle and repurpose our plastics and our papers and our metals and our glass. And because of that reason, much of what we are sending to recycling is actually going in the landfill. That is why low waste living is important. What can you do? You must develop a circular mindset. You're not going to develop a circular mindset overnight. It's going to start with that 10% change that we talked about a few minutes ago. So right now, most Americans are living in that linear economy like you see on the screen. A linear economy is, I purchase a product, I use it until I am done with it, whatever that might be, and then I throw it away. So I purchase a soda, I drink the soda, and I throw the bottle away. Recycling economy is, I purchase a soda and I put that soda bottle in the recycle bin, and I cross my fingers that recycle bin gets emptied into the right place, the right recycling company takes care of it, and they then turn it into another product. But plastics can only be recycled once before they've reached the end of their life, and then eventually it goes into the trash. Metals can be recycled many times before they eventually go into the trash. Glass can be recycled indefinitely. Glass and purchasing products in glass is part of a circular economy. So a circular economy means I purchase something that can be recycled indefinitely, like in glass, or I purchase something or bring something into my life and use it over and over and over again, or in different capacities until forever, as long as I possibly can. That product stays with me and I take deep ownership of that thing to keep it out of the landfill. Developing a circular economy is kind of like the term zero waste. It doesn't entirely exist, because we know that Every person is going to generate some amount of trash. Every person is going to ride in a car, potentially ride on an airplane, participate in a workplace that maybe uses fossil fuels. It's impossible to be 100% circular, just like it's impossible to be 100% zero waste, but it's our long-term aspiration, okay? So your question might be, well, that's great, Kelli, but how do I get to this circular mindset? And my answer is, it all starts with changing our consumption habits. We are consumers of goods, services, thoughts. We consume so much. We are not only just with what you are consuming information currently at this moment, and that's not a concrete or physical thing, but we're talking more about the physical. So changing our consumption habits is the first easy step for most families. I'm going to give you some really practical examples in just a moment, but I want to kind of check in on the chat box and allow you guys the opportunity to unmute yourself if you wish to pose any initial questions. So I'm going to just pause here and I'm going to open up the chat on my screen to see what you all have to say. So if you have any big questions, pop them in there. Okay. Oh, Joan recommends the video Plastic Wars. Oh, Shay kind of seconds the idea about so many products that don't get recycled. And it inspires her to shop with low waste in mind. I love it. That's a consumption habit change, Shay. Rachel says she feels like it's her job to save the environment when it's policy or corporation things. It's frustrating. I agree. It really is. And a quick note about that, I work for a really progressive place. Indian Creek Nature Center is incredibly progressive. We're a living building. We are very low waste, but it's still really challenging for me to see somebody put their coffee grounds in the trash and not the compost bin. It's very hard not to be like, come on, we know this should be composted, but it all starts with education. It all starts with education. And a passive aggressive sticky note. Just kidding. Seventh generation is a big culprit here. Daphne says, yeah, there might be some greenwashing with a lot of our companies that we don't know about. Atlas in Washington takes back foam products, but not styrofoam food trays or clamshells. Plastic Wars. How do we get rid of styrofoam? Marta, that's a great question. We don't get rid of styrofoam. Styrofoam is trash. That's where it goes, is the trash. If you put styrofoam in the recycling, it actually inhibits the recycling process. So a lot of us are recycling hopefuls. We put the item in the, I have a paper bag here. We put it in, they're please take it. If I put it in the blue bin, it'll count. It'll count. I put it in the blue bin. It doesn't count. It just contaminates everything that's in the blue bin. Will it help if we get plastics to be made out of biodegradables, reduce and reuse, but will never be plastic free? Christine, that's such a great question. It's a start. That might be the 10%, is to switch our workplace from styrofoam coffee cups by the coffee machine to biodegradable single-use coffee cups. That would be a 10% change, Christine, because you're right. We're never going to eliminate single use, but maybe we start by eliminating styrofoam. The Nature Center has a policy, we don't allow styrofoam on our property. If a renter, someone who's having a baby shower and rents our auditorium, comes in with a load of styrofoam plates, we tell them to take them out. I have walked a bride to the front door and said, thanks for being here, but we don't allow styrofoam here. Can you take that out to your car? And it's very uncomfortable, but everybody has to follow the same rules here. How do we convince adult family members who don't develop a circular mindset? Simple ideas that are easy for everyone to implement to push the 10%. Yeah, Amanda, because I'm married and I have a kid, and my husband, he has come a long way in the last 10 years that we've been together. Ultimately, leading by example is going to be the best way to influence change. It's really hard to force people to, to come along with you. Nobody likes to be told what to do. We like to be shown and gently led. Asking restaurants not to use styrofoam, absolutely. Absolutely. How can we affect change in the way our groceries are packaged? Well, I'm going to talk about that later. The co-op has some awesome strategies for the products that they have control over. So that's pretty cool. How can the co-op up its game? Daphne, I got some examples. Let's get into it since we have some questions about that specifically. Figure out trade-offs. Oh, Diana, I'm glad you brought that up. Sometimes we are going to have to make some trade-off decisions. So let's do that. Okay. Consumption habit changes. Here's what you can do. First thing is make changes at home. Start at home rather than the workplace or rather than your favorite restaurant or the businesses that you frequent. Starting at home and getting a good baseline underneath you is the best place to start first. So just a couple of examples. The first thing that I did starting at home over 10 years ago with my husband was I needed to figure out how much trash we were actually producing. This is going to gross you guys out, but it's your homework assignment. At the end of the week, or whenever you get your full bag of trash, I want you to open up that bag of trash, lay it out on your floor or lay it out in the yard or in the driveway, and look at every single piece of trash that's in your bag. Do that for a month. It's disgusting, but you need to own your trash. I had to own my trash. I had to get personal with the stuff I was putting in that trash bag. No more out of sight, out of mind. I had to look and physically touch every slimy, disgusting piece of trash that I put in that bag and sent to the landfill. And that told me where I needed to make my first changes. And it was with food for me, for my household. So one of the simple changes that I made was I started making my own bone broth. So we do eat animal products in my house and we do eat meat. So it just started with me saving my chicken carcass or the turkey carcass after Thanksgiving and putting all of those bones in a Ziploc bag that I reused and washed over and over and over in the freezer. And when I had enough veggie scraps like celery and onion peels and things and carrot tops, I would put them all in a big stock pot and I would make a ton of bone broth, put it in freezer containers, oftentimes like single-use containers with a good locking lid, and then I would freeze it for later use and cooking down the road. That was one of the easiest things that my household benefited from. When I had a son, I immediately knew that I would not be using disposable diapers. And I convinced my husband to make the investment in some quality used cloth diapers. I made I hosted a zero waste baby shower. And on my registry that I created, I told my guests only to use that baby shower registry as an inspiration list, but I did not want them going to Amazon or Target for that baby shower item or that gift if they wanted to give me a gift. I would rather, if they had a child at home that wasn't using that changing table pad, I'll take your old changing table pad, put a bow on it. I'd love to take it. I want a cloth diaper. If you have some cloth diaper supplies at home that you don't want anymore, I would love that gift. I'll take it. So I stopped buying new. Everything was secondhand. With Poshmark, with ThreadUp, with Facebook Marketplace, with eBay, there is no excuse not to shop secondhand. Currently, with a pandemic going on, to stay safe. But we have some incredible secondhand stores in Lynn and Johnson County that are taking really awesome safety measures post-COVID, where you can clothe your entire family, furnish your home entirely secondhand, and still shop in person safely. There should be no reason to purchase new. That's a way you can develop a circular mindset. But homework, dig through your trash can. The next thing is keep implementing changes that are small but add up, and eventually you'll get to those bigger changes. So I am the person who washes out her baggies. My grandmother will be proud. I wash out those Ziploc baggies and I reuse them until they have no life left in them. I reuse and wash out little plastic clamshell containers and I will take my lunch in that the next day. You have to be careful about heating things in the microwave, but I don't own a microwave at home. So I use metal or I use glass, put it on my plate in a toaster oven, or I reheat something on the stove. So think about how you can reuse what you have to keep those single-use items out of the waste stream, even just a couple times longer. When you're looking at big changes, you need to be prepared to radically make some radical decisions. The most radical decision that we made in our household was when we sold our home in Marion and we eventually purchased a piece of land near Mount Vernon. We decided we were going to build a very small house. Initially, our plan was to pour a cement pad and live in our camper because that just makes my heart sing. But alas, Iowa, tornadoes, derechos, I'm glad we didn't. We built a very tiny log home. And that's a picture of our log home last winter. Our log home is about 700 square feet. It has a bathroom and a bedroom and a loft, and that's about it. We do not have a furnace. We have a wood stove. So if my husband and I don't chop wood in the summer, we will not have heat in the winter. And we just fired up our wood stove 2 days ago for the first time this season. So that's a radical change. Another radical change will be eventually we're going to slap some solar panels on that bad boy and we're going to be off grid. But that's just one next step. This might not be the radical change for your family, and it shouldn't be. That's okay. But there's going to come a time when you guys are ready to make something big happen in your lives, and you'll know in your heart that it's the right change for your family. Be prepared for that. I don't know what it's going to be or when it's going to be, but it's exciting when you get there. The next big tip I have for you is at some point you're going to need to buy something new. And when you do, you need to replace it with an eco alternative. But here's the biggest mistake that people do when they start this low waste or zero waste lifestyle. And that is they throw out all their plastic Tupperware and replace it with glass. You're just creating more waste. You've just thrown away perfectly good plastic Tupperware that you could have used for years and years and years, but you've thrown it away because it was plastic and you want to have a Pinterest perfect glass pantry. Keep what you have and use what you have until it is ragged and you can't use it anymore. That is the best thing that you can do right now, is not rush out and buy something new. When you do buy something new, replace it very carefully. For example, when you run out of your disposable napkins at home, don't buy a new pack of disposable napkins. Go to your thrift store or go to Poshmark or go to eBay, go to Facebook Marketplace, and buy a nice set of used cloth napkins. If your husband or your father or someone in your family wants to heat their garage so they can work on little projects in the wintertime, see if you can find a wood stove that is in a million different pieces in your dad's wood shed and restore that. For example, my husband wanted a wood stove for his garage, and this is a 1908 wood stove that my dad and I refinished for him for a Christmas present. Rethink gift giving this winter. Have some fun with it. Gift an experience or gift something totally unique and special to that person. And then just to keep it real with you, this is a picture of my Tupperware cabinet with like random jars, random containers. I am the person that I will save the pickle jar and scrub the label off of it and reuse that pickle jar for other things. Be that person. I know you guys save the good boxes from your Amazon order. Save the good jars to use for food storage. So, if you must buy new, like I said, evaluate every single purchase. How is it made? Where does it come from? And then most importantly, when I am done with this item, what's going to happen to it? Is it going to go right to the trash? Can it be recycled? How will it be recycled? Do I trust that it's going to be recycled? Can I give this to another person? Can I repurpose it in some way? So what happens to this when it leaves my hands? Own your trash. Let's talk about some systems that you can put into place to help you succeed. And I have beside me here a ton of products from the co-op that you can purchase and kind of help you on this journey. But before we discuss that, I want to hear about what tools are essential for your household. So I shared several examples from my household, but in the comments, or unmute yourself if you want to share with your voice, what are you currently doing, or what could you currently do to help your household move along this zero waste or low waste spectrum? I'm gonna open up the chat box here so I can see what you're saying. Reusable bags, Christine asked about. Joan talks about nets. Katie, I'm doing with this with paper towels, using up your last batch and replacing them with rags. Very good. Anybody cut up old t-shirts and use them as rags? Like t-shirts that you don't want to wear anymore, but it's like perfectly good fabric. Rags. Or I've heard old t-shirts are better on your hair for women who like do the towel thing on their hair. They're gentler on your hair than a towel. Shay loves saving a good salsa jar. Joan turns them into flower vases. Paula, you got me on the t-shirts. Shay got a compost tumbler this year. I love it. Heather has a home compost bin. No excuse not to start a home compost bin, people. Your food scraps should not go in the trash. They should go in your compost bin. If you don't have curbside compost pickup like we do in Cedar Rapids, start a home bin. Composting. Holy socks are good rags. You got it, Edith. Okay, husband just cut up his worn out well-off shirt. Oh, it's probably a heartbreaker. Composting is dead easy. You got it. Homemade syrups and salad dressings. Salad dressings are so easy to make. Such good ideas, everybody. Keep popping your ideas into this chat box because we're recording this session. We're going to have this bank of your low waste living tips because I'm learning so much, so many additional tips from you too. Good options for hygiene products. Christine, I got some examples right here for you. Canning and freezing. Homemade laundry soap. Jill asks, can the veggie scraps go with the wood to the compost? I'm assuming you're talking about, Jill, the wood from Duratio cleanup. And the Duratio cleanup wood goes to a different place. But if you live in Cedar Rapids, your food scraps can go in like a paper bag, like just a paper shopping bag from the co-op, and then just kind of roll the top of the bag up and pop it in your yardie if you live in Cedar Rapids, and this will break down.
So I can put that in my compost in Marion with my weeds and that stuff too.
Yes, you can, okay. Jill. Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
Christy says in Iowa City, the yellow top bin is for yard waste and compost. Thank you, Christy. I appreciate it. If anyone else is from another municipality and you want to type in what your city does, please do. Rachel asked about Coralville. Okay, wood toothbrushes. Yay, Katie. All right, let's talk about some of the examples. I'm going to hold some stuff up to the screen for you. Let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but we will come back to it in a moment. I'm going to show you some products that we have at the co-op that can help you when you are ready to purchase new. So remember, you're going to use what you have until you absolutely can't anymore, and then you're going to purchase an eco alternative. So we'll start with body products first. When you're talking soap and conditioner and shower products, first thing you need to do is buy unwrapped bar soap. The co-op has several types of unwrapped bar soap that have no wrapping around them. This is an unscented bar. If you can't find this, if they're out or you're out of town or something like that, and you can't find unwrapped bar soap, which so many of these double as shampoo, you just like lather it in your hair, works beautifully. If you can't find this, next best option is paper wrapped bar soap. Okay, Dr. Bronner's, this is an unscented Dr. Bronner's. You can buy it in a bunch of different scents at your co-op. This, I also use the unscented to make my homemade laundry soap. I grate it with a cheese grater. I dissolve it. I add some super washing soda. I add some borax. It gels up into like a thick liquid. I add essential oils if I need to. I have like 5 gallons of laundry soap that will last me several months. So paper wrap bar soap. Some of you might be essential oil users. Lemon essential oil is like a Swiss Army knife for your kitchen and your bathroom. Lemon essential oil is a natural goo gone. So you know that product Goo Gone that like gets all the sticky goo off of everything? This does the same thing, and it's not a chemical, and only 1 or 2 drops will do you. So if you have a glass bottle of something and you want to take the label off, you know how it's sometimes sticky? A few drops of lemon essential oil on it, rub it with your fingertips, it'll come right off. So lemon essential oil, keep that on your, like behind your kitchen sink or under your kitchen sink. Another cleaning product and company in general that I recommend you look into is the company called Whoa Nelly. And this is their vinegar-based cleaning spray, like an all-purpose cleaning spray. If you don't make your own or you're looking to purchase one, it comes in glass, remember, really important. But they also allow you to refill products, and it's made in the USA, but I believe it's like it's an Iowa City company. So like made super local, not a lot of fossil fuels that go into this product. They have a bunch of other products too, but I just pulled the cleaning spray. They have like laundry detergent, they have like a scrub, and all of their packaging is really responsible and sustainable in metal and glass. If you are looking for toilet paper, I'm in the Cedar Rapids store right now. I'm up in their conference room. I was really impressed. They have several varieties of paper wrapped toilet paper. If you are purchasing your toilet paper and have the ability to purchase toilet paper in paper rather than a bunch of rolls wrapped in plastic, do it in paper. This is 7th generation, but I think they had like 3 other brands that were also wrapped in paper. You can also look into buying toilet paper in bulk that comes in a huge box, but all the rolls are wrapped like this. I know New Pioneer does a bulk purchase discount. So if you want like a whole case of spaghetti sauce or a whole case of black beans, and Daphne, look at Daphne, she's got hers. I love it.
Who gives a crap? I can really give a shout out to this company because they build toilets where people need it in disadvantaged countries, places. And look at that. They deliver to your house, paper wrapped.
Yes. Daphne, there are a couple people in the chat box that are like thumbs upping you and agreeing with you that that's a great company to look into. Awesome. Okay, so when it comes to tissues, I don't have a good eco alternative for tissues, a single-use alternative for tissues, because you should use a handkerchief. So that's my PSA there. It's just boogers, guys. It's okay. We all know that you pick your nose in the car anyway. Okay, when we're talking food and beverages, I have a couple of options. For those of you who drink tea, you may think that purchasing a box of tea is a good option. It kind of is. You can maybe recycle the paper. You can maybe compost the tea bags if you know the tea bags and the string and the little tag are biodegradable or compostable. But if they have a little staple in them or they might be coated with plastic, can't be biodegradable or compostable. So this is a risky move. Tea is a risky move. You know what's a better move? Bulk tea. So this is bulk tea that I just grabbed out of the bulk aisle here at the Cedar Rapids store. It's the same Irish English breakfast black tea. So the same thing that you saw in the box here, but it's in bulk. So yes, it's in plastic, but the impact of this is significantly less than the impact of this. I want to throw another layer onto this. This comes from Frontier Co-op out of Norway, Iowa. This is where this company that provides New Pioneer Co-op with a lot of their bulk goods. I am very intimately acquainted with the administrators at Frontier Co-op, and the sustainability manager there, her name is Alicia Simmons, and she's absolutely wonderful and would be happy to take questions by email if you have them. She and her team are working on a biodegradable bag option. So while that is not here on this exact bag that I'm showing you, rest assured, coming soon, Frontier Co-op will be rolling out a more sustainable packaging option for bulk purchasing. So we just got to push those companies 10% and they can start making changes for us. Another beverage that we need to think about, and we talked about this before, is maybe taking a little bit more time while we're shopping, whether that's shopping on the app on your phone or shopping in the store, whichever you prefer. You have choices. So I was in the beverage, like the juice aisle, and this is tart cherry juice, Field Day brand tart cherry juice in a plastic bottle. One shelf away from this, I found tart cherry juice in a glass bottle with a metal cap. They are both $3.99. They are both the exact same price. I would have totally overlooked this. Truthfully, I would have overlooked this, but I just happened to walk by it and see it. And I thought, oh, they'd like to see this. Same exact price, packaged totally differently. This is the more sustainable option. So grocery shopping, if you do it in person, is going to take a lot longer until you get these habits down, but that's okay. Or it might take a little bit more time on the app if you shop online. Bulk shopping is going to get easier at the co-op. Purchasing manager and administrator at the co-op, Linda Fritz Murphy, at last month's board meeting had an incredible presentation for those of us on the board of directors. And she shared how the co-op is beginning to transition back to some of those low waste initiatives now that they've got a handle on some of the COVID precautions that they had to put in place for our safety. The first is they're bringing back gravity bins in the bulk section. So gravity bins are the bins that you hold a jar under or hold a paper bag under and pull the lever and it dumps. That is the safest way to allow us to shop in bulk in a paper bag, because those scoop bins pose some sanitary risks. So when you are in the bulk aisle, the Cedar Rapids store has several bulk gravity bins for you. Instead of grabbing the plastic biodegradable bag, because we know biodegradable has to be biodegraded in a compost facility, instead of grabbing that bag, the co-op has paper bags right beside it. The paper bag can be put in your recycling bin, or it can be broken down in your compost bin quite easily. Or you can reuse this paper bag as your shopping list and then compost it when you're done with it. So this has many more lives than that plastic bag. So every co-op store has these as an option. And if it doesn't, just ask. They'll pull some out of the back from you. Christine asked, can we bring our own containers for bulk purchases? I'm going to answer that when I share my screen again. So I'm going to save that question for you, Christine. When I was shopping in like the canned good aisle, so remember, plastic is our enemy. Aluminum or metal is like second best. Glass is number one. So if you have the choice of purchasing canned tomatoes in glass or metal, choose glass. But sometimes when we have options like pasta, it's like in a plastic bag or in cardboard. Here's where it gets a little tricky, and reading labels is important. If you want to purchase rotini, your rotini noodles, you can purchase these in like a plastic bag, which we don't advocate for, or you can purchase them in a box. This box is recyclable, and this clear window is biodegradable. You know how I know that? It says so. Before recycling this paper box, detach the window, which is 100% home compostable and biodegradable. They've done the work for us. This is Bio Nature brand. I personally like Jovial Foods. Same thing. So it says right on the top of the box, 100% plastic-free packaging. We're committed to sustainability. The window is made from certified wood pulp and responsibly managed forests, certified for home and industrial compost. Detach and compost. The box is made with recycled cardboard. When done, flatten and recycle again. Jovial. If I didn't read these boxes, I would get my rotini in a bag because it might be 50 cents cheaper. 50 cents is worth it for me here because I'm voting with my 50 cents. I'm telling these companies and I'm telling the co-op with my 50 cents that these two brands are important to me. If you don't think that the co-op is looking at your purchasing data as a whole, as members, they are. They're looking at what products are selling and what products we are demanding of them. If we are buying all the plastic, they're gonna think that that's what we want. So they're gonna keep purchasing it and putting it on the shelves. If we buy from companies like this, they're gonna stock more stuff from companies like this. Okay, so let me start sharing my screen again so I can talk more about Kristine's question. And we are nearing the end of our presentation, which is good timing because we have about 6 minutes left. Okay, bulk section is bringing back the gravity bins. You can't bring your own container yet, Christine. It does pose a slight sanitation concern that administrators aren't quite ready to tackle yet. So for the time being, use paper that is provided by the co-op rather than the biodegradable. And that's what we have to go with for now. It's kind of like the 10% that we just have to stomach until we feel a little bit more prepared. Now the co-op is looking into some reusable glass packaged food. So this is like you purchase an item in glass. It's a co-op item, like their fresh ground nut butter or their granola. Maybe it's the co-op's homemade pesto, a homemade soup, a homemade salad. It is packaged in glass. We pay a small deposit on it when we purchase it. Then we return it to the co-op, get our deposit back, where it's sanitized in their professional equipment before it's repacked with a new food product and put back out on the shelf. So it's safe and it's closed loop. And that's something that Linda and the team are looking at piloting in the next few months or so. It's not out yet, but it's the direction the co-op is going in, which I think is so important because I miss the jalapeno cashew spread and I miss some of these salads and these soups that I can't get all the time, or I don't want it in plastic. Now remember, when you're shopping, choose glass or metal before plastic. Also, when you're in the produce aisle, it's really easy to shop zero waste in the produce aisle at the co-op because they offer so many options for naked produce. Their bananas aren't wrapped in a plastic bag. Don't put your bananas in a plastic bag. They come in their own case. It's the banana peel. You peel it off and eat the fruit in the middle. So don't wrap your produce in those single-use produce bags. Bring your own cloth produce bag from home. Look up a tutorial to sew one this winter for your pandemic project. But buy naked produce that's not wrapped in a bag, a plastic bag, and look for the singles. So if you're going to the banana bin, get those single bananas rather than the big bunch, because the singles oftentimes ripen quicker and are oftentimes thrown out faster than the big bunch. So you're saving some of that produce from hitting the trash or the compost bin. You can buy cleaning products in bulk. So if you are interested in buying a big jug of like liquid Dr. Bronner's, they have gallons and half gallons for sale downstairs in the Cedar Rapids store. And you can get some of those bulk products if you're looking for some major cleaning stuff. And like I said earlier, prioritize those brands with a sustainability mission. We're telling the co-op and we're telling our purchasers at all of the places we shop at who we want in our stores by what we're buying. Bring others along with you gently. So many of you said, well, how do I get other people on board? And I'm really trying to bring my family members along. Nobody likes to be forced or told what to do. but it's our job to gently bring them along and make low-waste living mainstream. So if you're going on a picnic with friends in the fall weather before things turn cold, bring silverware out of your silverware drawer instead of a single-use silverware. Bring your cloth napkin. Bring your friend a cloth napkin. Give them a cloth napkin. The more we make this popular and just like, yeah, it's just what I do. It's just my way of life. The more normal it'll seem, and it won't seem like you're weird or you're out of the norm, or, it won't be uncomfortable for people. And it's really important to maintain a very positive attitude about this. If we meet challenges with some positivity, it's more likely that anxiety about going low waste is going to be reduced. My last tip for you is get outside in all weather. What does this have to do with low waste living? The more that we connect with our earth in all seasons, the stronger ownership that we have of it. There are incredible parks, incredible outdoor spaces in your neighborhood, incredible outdoor spaces in Lynn and Johnson County that are free and open to the public and are available for you to explore. Get outside in all weather. Go on a hike when it's raining. Go for a walk when it's snowing. Get outside when it's really, really hot, even if it's just for a couple of minutes. Get outside at night. Get outside in the early morning. Get outside in the evening. Doesn't matter, on your lunch break. If we have ownership of our space, we're going to take care of it. If your friends and your family have ownership of that space, they're going to want to take care of it too. That's the best way we can bring others along with us. The nature and the outdoors can be intimidating. So I'm going to shamelessly plug Indian Creek Nature Center, where all 4 of these photos were taken. If the natures and the outdoors are intimidating to you, find an organization that will help make it more comfortable. We have no shortage in Lynn and Johnson County of professionals that can help make the outdoors accessible to you. And that's what we're here for. So come along with us.